from now hence, the new senior office building will now be called the Ark.
The moderator is a developer and he's a humanitarian to the core.
I describe him most often as a make-it-big pastor.
He is a bulldozer.
Spiritually and physically.
He can break through. He can construct through.
He's a very intelligent guy, very charismatic, very, very inspirational.
If I could get younger and go to the seminary, I would go to the seminary because of Reverend FONKI.
He has set the bar exceptionally high for his successor.
The Right Reverend FONKI Samuel FORBA is a Cameroonian, born in a little village in Bombay, in Akwaya subdivision under Mangu. As a young man, I followed my father to the farm and we did subsistence farming. I loved football as well as a young person. At a later age in life, it was dancing that paid my school fees. Presently, as an adult, I love reading, I love watching movies, and I like to discuss economic and political issues around the world. I also love debates surrounding poverty and human sustenance. I hate seeing people being molested or traumatized. Worse still, I hate to see a woman maltreated by any man. I started primary school in 1972 till 1975 in my village at what we called at the time St. Paul Primary School. It was a Catholic school. It ended just in class 4. So I continued in 1975 to 1979 in Berlin, government school Berlin, where I finished my primary education. Secondary school years was another ball game. In 1979 and 81, I was in the Royal Artisan Training Center. We call it SAR SM in Akwaya. I graduated from SAR SM in carpentry and joinery, and then continued in 1981-84 in GTHS Kumba, where I finished my secondary education. When I went to the village, I ended up just remaining in the village to take care of my parents and to grow up the young one, because at that time my mother was seemingly tired. My siblings were all in school, so I decided to stay home to be able to sponsor them in school. While at home, of course, I played my role as one who had been in the city. I rallied the boys in the village to teach them a lot of things. I still remember I taught them my break dance and I taught them football. And so we started playing inter-village tournaments and we're always the winners. And since I was also a Christian coming from a Christian home, I was elected the president of the Christian Youth Fellowship group in my village, and I brought in the drumming style from Fiango, Pumba, because I was in Pumba, and I was attending church in Fiango, and I was in the CYF. So I brought the drumming style, taught some of the choruses, and transformed the group. Everybody in the village, every youth in the village decided to become a CYF member.
I was CYF member, and he taught us so many songs. He conducted CYF. So by that, all the youth on the congregation just fell for him. When he called Christians to be available, the youth will ironically be the first persons to be there.
That's how I stayed back in the village and just forgot myself like that. And so one day, a brother called, who is a pastor now also, Reverend Atum Jacob, came and asked me that, why are you just staying like this? Can we not write this entrance and go to the pastor school? I said, do I even know where they train pastors? I don't even know where the school is. What are you talking about? By the way, I don't want to be a pastor. Before then, my auntie had gone to Fiango and asked the parish pastor to register me into the theological seminary. I refused. So this time around, when this colleague was talking to me, I told him that I don't think I want to be a pastor. And my father heard us discussing. So he called us into his parlor and said, what were you people talking about? And Jacob narrated the whole thing. He said, Jacob, write the name, write the application. Please go and deliver it. He went and did that, trekked to Akwaya town, 2 days, came back, brought the forms. He filled them in front of my father, his own form and my form, and then took them again back to Akwaya, and they were validated by the Presbyterian secretary at the time, Reverend Adombang, and by some luck, that program of successful candidates was part of the news, and my father was so close to the radio, stopped even fowls from talking. He listened, and my name was called. When he heard my name, he took out his gun, shot in the air, called the family, made a big party that I've succeeded to go to the seminary. In Nyasoso, it was such a unique moment because for the first time, we had the possibility of being fed for free. You had 3 square meals for free. You had a bed for free. You had books for free. And then at the end of the month, you were given an allowance. So that was my life in the seminary. So I needed no support from anybody to survive my theological education. My wife was a classmate in the seminary. We started off theological education together. And by the 4th year when we were graduating, we fell in love and got married in 1993. And she is my moderator. She's not just a wife, she's a mother, she's a friend, and she's a soulmate. And we share a lot in common.
When it comes to personal life, he's a very, very devoted family person. Actually, he's not an outdoor person, so he spends his life between church, work, and home. If he's not at church or in his office, he's at home, and he's a very devoted family man. Each time he goes through some tough times, I always remind him, you are Samuel. But one thing that God has blessed him with, he has never lost sleep over anything. Even when he is disturbed about something that's happening, whether he's being misunderstood or whether he's taking blames for crimes he did not commit, after evening prayers, while I'm thinking about it, he's gone. He has never lost sleep. And then that just leads me to the passage in the Psalm which David says that to his beloved he giveth sleep. He has sleep.
I started my pastoral ministry in Benkas parishes in Benchum Presbytery as an assistant pastor. I was there for 3 years.
He is a man who makes lemonade out of any lemon that is given him, no matter how bitter it turns out to be. I remember meeting him in Boo. Within a very short time, he is a prolific trilinguist. Within a very short time, he had learned the Boo dialect. He likes to play the drum. He was already playing the drum. And he likes dancing.
The reasons were that in that village, more than 90% of the Christians could not speak even Pidgin. So I preached in Pidgin, and there was a translator who translated in the dialect. If you say one sentence in English, they will repeat it in the dialect, just like that in Pidgin. So by the time I had spent 1 year in that village, because of course, wherever you went, you were greeted in the village, spoken to in the village. When you were with the Christians, everything was in the dialect. They spoke to you in the dialect, and so you had no choice than to know the dialect.
It's a grassroots pastor. As a pastor, when he gets into a congregation, he loves music and dancing. He would always like to play the drum, to identify himself with the fathers and mothers and children of the church. And that identification brought him very close to the heart of the Christians.
He has the charisma when he stands at the pulpit. He has the charisma when he talks. And I remember when he's ending his sermon, the way he ends the sermon, he always tells you, fellow Presbyterians. And when I hear those things, fellow Presbyterians, I stand myself to say that I will remain a Presbyterian. Because by the time he's ending it, he has given you those spiritual food, which makes you to know that you must stand a Presbyterian despite the tempting moments.
I knew the Reverend FONKI somewhere about 30 years ago. He was just coming out from the theological college, and I was worshiping then with my family in BC Tamulu. He was a young pastor, just came out, and I did not even know that he would be moderator of the PCC one day.
It never ever crossed my mind that I could be the moderator of this church. So I don't have any build up, so to say. I don't have any build up to say this is the build up that made me to become moderator. No, it just happened.
In 2003, when we moved to our home, newly constructed home, on that day, our father, the late Right Reverend Henry Awasu, as it is traditional in most African societies, we had called him to come and bless this home before we move in with the children. And on coming, the Right Reverend moderator at the time was at the church center in Mancon. On coming, Pa moderator, as we used to call him, our father, came along with this young pastor called Sam. He used to call him Sham. And when they came, he came with a wooden cross. He put it at the time because the house was still in plain construction, what we call in French, plain chantier. And the moderator said that Sham, I did put this cross for ground. When this house will finish and no go be again, now you will take my own hand, put it up on the wall. Second time that someone in the church was predicting, was prophesying that this young man was destined for many things.
I approached him on 2 occasions and I advised him that he should allow 5 years, that transition to the then synod clerk, Reverend Aboenzo, who was not my friend, but my pastor, so that, within the 5 years, he would fix certain things and become more spiritually prepared for that high office. He accepted, but later on, towards the elections, he told me that there was pressure that he should run. Anyway, I said, okay, it was a calling from God. I can't stop you.
After the opening of synod, we went now to synod, an election proper. From nowhere, I was nominated and voted moderator of the PCC. I still remember where I sat. My hands were on my head, and the whole table was filled on my papers with tears. I was asking myself, you have never been senior clerk, you have never been secretary committee of the ministry, you want to be moderator. Something told me, get up and say no to this thing. But I turned and saw the jubilation in the hall and the jubilation outside. The noise could break down a house. I said, if you try this thing, you're finished. They can kill you. Like a joke.
When we went for the elections for the moderatorship, I was the one heading that delegation together with him to go for that election. So when he was elected moderator, I was the person sitting right next to him. So I can say I'm the person who gave him his first handshake as the moderator. So I think that created a special bond and also a responsibility on my part to be able to carry his vision, to share his vision, and to follow his trajectory as closely as I can and give him all the help and support that he needed for his mandate.
He took over in 2014. I was actually the secretary of the electoral committee that brought him to power. And in 2016, the crisis began. And to have waded through the crisis, carrying us along through the crisis, very successfully. All the problems and challenges he's had, but he has stood the test of time.
One day, one of my godparents, Mr. Memoir, invited me to see him, and I decided to attend Tambulung Presbyterian Church. And I sat with Pa Memoir, and coincidentally, Reverend FONKI was the preacher that day. I'd never known him, I'd never met him, I'd never heard of him. And after service, when I was driving Pa Memoir to his residence for us to have our meeting, I asked about the preacher of the day. And he mentioned it. He asked why I asked. I said, I will preach so well. And I loved the service. He said, you are correct. I think that may be our future, a future. That time he said senior clerk of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. This was in 2001. And so since, Pa Memoir was some very known personality within the church and society, he was my principal too for long. He was I lived with him as a child, and I respected his judgment. And so from that moment, I started from a distance just, watching him. I'm happy that he ended up being the moderator, not the senior clerk that Pa Memoir had prophesied.
At the synod of 2014 in Bamenda, were very elated that we were having a young man coming as a moderator. We had seen from a distance when he was Presbyterian secretary in Douala, East Mungu South, and also in Yaoundé. So this was fresh blood coming into the management at the highest level of the PCC.
2015, very the battle was handed to him. With divine vision, he carried out his mission to reform, transform, and raise the PCC to the glory of God.
My idea when I became moderator was to transform this church from self-reliance, not to self-sustainability, but to self-sufficiency. So I wanted to move from self-reliance and bypass self-sustainability to self-sufficiency. So that vision now drove me into these economic ventures, where I started with a microfinance division 2. I started with the insurance broker policy. I started by training our own guards with an authorization from the government of Cameroon. We started by opening the Bush Mango Farm. We started refurbishing and rebuilding new hospitals, building new schools, and trying to see how these ventures can raise income that will balance up what the church is usually asking from congregations every year.
Reverend FONKI Samuel FORBA has been an enthusiastic leader, I must say. He has not just been a moderator, but he has been an exemplary leader. He has taken the church from a point where many people felt that it was going downward to a greater level where people could not even envisage. A point where the church no longer relies on the contributions of the people, but instead empowers the community. We can see this from enormous hospitals which have been opened over the years.
We have seen the hospital in Yaoundé. We have seen the hospital in Bepanda. We have seen the hospital in Bamenda. We have seen the one special hospital unit, the child care unit in Limbe.
I am at the Synod office, and directly behind me is an imposing, magnificent structure. That is the new Synod office building, which by the special grace of God was realized during his mandate.
To me, leadership is corporate. I don't see leadership from an individualistic perspective. I see leadership from a corporate perspective. And in that way, leadership has been very sweet because I don't do it alone.
He works very, very closely with his entourage, which is a very good thing. There are very few decisions, as far as I know, which he has taken on his own. I know he's somebody who collaborates with others.
In his first mandate under Transformer, I was still a key player in his administration because at the time I was the parish pastor of Bona Musadi and the Presbyterial Secretary of East Mongo South Presbytery, a major presbytery of our church. The church, indeed, we all supported him and was transformed to a greater extent under his mandate. I have been an integral part of his second mandate under the theme, Wake Up, Watch Out. I've been in the administration of this church for quite some time, since 2000, as a treasurer of a presbytery, presbyterial secretary, and today synod clerk. I have gone through administrators of the church at high level, moderators, synod clerks, but I can say here without mincing words that the Right Reverend FONKI Samuel FORBA is one of the greatest leaders the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon has had.
He's very instrumental in translating vision into action. Whatever he dreams at night, just be sure that he's going to execute it. I describe him most often as a make it big pastor.
I refer to him as the lion heart reverend. When he decides that we are going there, we go. We decide that we're going to do this, we do it. Whatever it takes, we do it. He decided, for example, that in 1 year we are going to construct an automodern hospital in Bamenda. And exactly it took us 9 months to construct that hospital in Bamenda, equipped it, and inaugurated it.
The moderator is a developer and he's a humanitarian to the core. So when it comes to our work, you cannot ask for a better boss. He is somebody who can knock at any door as long as he knows that something will come out of that room to make the PCC better. He's somebody that believes that tomorrow is today. So he wants to see tomorrow today. If you tell him, Pa, I hear that there's this office in Yaoundé that can support this project, tomorrow he's going there. He's that kind of boss who is very knowledgeable, who is very reliable, who knows all the products and services of our department. He can tell you, if he sees this table, he will tell you it was produced by Telco. If he sees this shirt, he can tell you that it was produced by PYC Limbe.
I've worked with about 3 different moderators in the service, and it is the first of its kind that I have seen a moderator who takes his time to understand all the services, get into detail and see how the services are being managed.
I would call the Right Reverend FONKI Samuel FORBA, moderator of the PCC, as a great bulldozer. A bulldozer spiritually and physically. He came in with a vision to transform the church in all the areas, physically and spiritually. And just then the following year, he came out with a book, which I have here. Setting the agenda, a vision of transformation in a post-jubilee church. And actually, he articulated what he had for the church in this document.
In his mandate, there have been organization of special retreats and prayer sessions in different circumstances. And we applaud the innovation of the organization of the all PCC pastors and presbytery chairpersons conferences, where there have been evaluation and harmonization of work at the level of the presbyteries.
When he came in, he first of all had an assessment of what we're doing and the challenges we're facing department by department. In education, he saw the challenges we're in, especially when it comes to salaries of teachers, when it comes to payment of taxes to government and CNPS, and especially when it comes to the structures, some of them were obsolete, were built by the missionaries. So he just fitted in his vision of transformers.
FONKI Samuel FORBA is somebody with a very great sense of humor, and through that you would see that a lot is transformed. The office space, the workspace is put at ease, and people can be able to move on, people can be able to work without feeling the pressure, without feeling intimidated. People can be able to feel like they belong.
If he gives an assignment for you to do it immediately. He wants action immediately. He loves his word. I want it to be done immediately. So that is how I have been working and succeeding. And he is somebody who is jovial. When it is work, it is work. When it is time to play, it is time to play. He makes you to work in a conducive environment. We work as a family, not as a boss and a subordinate.
Despite the challenges at home and abroad, Mother PCC stands tall.
Just after 1 year in office and trying to formulate my agenda of how to grow the church, were hit hard by the anglophone crisis in 2016.
Sa mandature est marquée par la crise anglophone. Elle est marquée par la situation à l'extrême nord avec Boko Haram, lorsque nous prenions des responsabilités en 2018. Et donc ce fut la boussole que les chefs d'église ont donnée
pour répondre valablement, n'est-ce pas, aux préoccupations qui sont les nôtres. Et le président du CEPCA s'est détaché spécialement par son leadership. Son leadership qui a conduit à plusieurs niveaux d'amener les leaders religieux à discuter sur les problématiques de la paix, pas simplement au Cameroun. Je me rappelle que nous sommes allés en Éthiopie, en Angola, etc., etc., parce qu'il a à cœur de voir son pays en paix.
He didn't see the crisis as an obstacle, but he saw it as an opportunity to, like an eagle, to soar above the crisis and to get things done. COVID-19 came as well. Church life was grounded. Services were truncated. Here in Douala, we have sometimes 6-8 services in a Sunday because of the, to decongest, But even at that time, church life was still healthy. So he's a moderator who has had the biggest challenge. At the same time, he has achieved more than all others who sat on that chair during peaceful time, when the economy was good, there were no external factors.
The Right Reverend FONKI Samuel has led a firm direction for the church and the state, because he has helped even the state in resolving crises.
He's an example of a good leader, at the service of his people, sacrifice, and again, courageous and determined, a lot of bravery. By the time he believes in something, he wants to take it to the end. Even at the time, no one will believe that it will succeed. But as I said earlier, a man of vision. He knows where he's going.
You see somebody who has a direct or indirect desire to empower people. You see somebody who wants to make life better. You see somebody who wants to leave the church better than he met it. You see somebody who wants to leave the church with more resources, financial, material, human capital, and all of that, than he met it.
I started knowing him well when he was the Reverend Pastor of PC Bastos. And I quite remember the challenges that we went through. Testing, I don't know whether it was testing our faith or what. We did the fasting. That fasting made us to learn a lot. From there, the Right Reverend FONKI today, who was then the Reverend FONKI, touched my heart.
Reverend FONKI is a down-to-earth somebody you can trust, somebody you can quickly relate to. And so it was a very cordial working relation. It was very fruitful working with him as a parish pastor and as the Presbyterian Secretary of East Bongo North Presbytery.
If I could get younger and go to the seminary, I would go to the seminary because of Reverend FONKI, because of his way of serving Christ and serving the church.
When he came here in 2004, I had just become an elder. It was not long I was made an elder. So he helped me in my spiritual life. He helped me in my spiritual life for it to grow. And we did a lot of the prison ministry together. We started a prison ministry here with him, and we ended up having a chapel built in the prisons. And we also did a lot of visiting together, because when he came, he didn't know many of the people, and whenever there was a person who was sick, somebody was sick, we went together, so that at the same time he got used to the Christians, and we worked together. And that working together helped me a lot.
Il jouit d'une élégance certaine, surtout chaque fois que nous nous retrouvons dans des zones où il y a un peu de poussière. Quand il descend de son véhicule, avec son cuir bien ciré, trop brillant, il faut seulement imaginer comment les talons marchent petit à petit pour qu'ils ne puissent pas se salir. C'est un homme élégant.
I find him a little bit unconventional. When he wants to laugh, he will laugh without any restraint. Sometimes if I'm by him, I say, "You are the moderator. Maflo, leave that in."
He's very emotional, and he could cry anytime in front of the camera, anywhere.
I think he's unnecessarily too humble at times. Too humble in the sense that the people who hate him, you may think that he will turn to hate them. He may be so vocal at the spot, but suddenly you find him drinking and laughing with them. It may pierce you. That is just the moderator. That his enemies, at times you are shocked that he is drinking and eating with them. The people who really pierced him. But that's him, and that's how God has met him.
Some people may take it as a weakness, but that just tells you one of his innate traits of someone who is down to earth.
He has etched his name not on sand but on gold. For posterity, he will always be thought of. That is his legacy. Is he a perfect human being? No, there is no perfect human being on earth. But the good distinction I've noticed with him is he's able to say, "I'm sorry." He's able to acknowledge his limitations.
He is not saying, "Here I am." You know, there are people who want to make others feel their authority. I found out that he wasn't one of those.
The Right Reverend Dr. FONKI Samuel, moderator of the church, will be credited for someone who has a clear-cut vision about the church, even beyond his time, because a lot of the things that he has done, they will get ripe and mature far after his own time. That's a clear sign that his leadership is not just about a routine type of thing. When you meet a leader who sees beyond his time, he sees the church beyond his time, those are marks of success, great success. And when you see a leader who, by the time he's leaving office, there's a lot of serenity. Everybody understands exactly what to do. Those are signs of great success.
If for me, PCC, be the talk saying at 20 years, me man be for me, I could add me be for 20 years again, so that I could change so many things inside PCC in whole. So that some different churches they could learn for you for a good work where you don't ever do.
It is emblematic what he has done, and he has set the bar exceptionally high for his successor. Exceptionally high.
He made a firm promise that had as mantra transformers. I can conclude by saying that highlight as a new moderator at the time has been a promise made and a promise kept.
Whatever legacies people want to attach to my work, that will not be my portion. But I think that I've tried with my human limitations to do my work as a pastor and to do the bit I could for the glory of God. So if that is what you call legacy, okay, that's my legacy. I'll be the first pastor who leaves office as moderator and still has at least 7 years to work. The other pastors, other moderators were lucky that as they were ending their term of office, they were just going on retirement. But I will still have time to work, and I would love that the church should give me a small, nice congregation somewhere where I have to know the names of everybody in the congregation, a congregation of about 100, 200 people, so that I can do what I like best, being a pastor. So I can cry again with my Christian, laugh again with my Christian, dance again with my Christian, and have to listen to them when they are sick and when they have problems, and to give my wise counsel to them after this baggage of experience. That's what I would have loved and I would love to do. But whatever the church will want to assign me to do, I will humbly bow and take the responsibility. I want to say that it's not because I was or I am anybody special. I think it's just God's grace that I am who I am. And so if you ask me, I will say the glory is to God. Because at times I've asked myself, why will He select me to make me who I am and to make me the leader of His church? I will wish the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon God's blessings, because I know that if He can come to me and talk with me and I feel His presence, means there is God in the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. I pray Presbyterians will continue to remain proud of their church, and I trust that God will never leave the PCC.
Christians, seek not yet repose in thy guardian angels say, thou art in the midst of foes, watch and pray. Principal